Okay, thank you. Welcome to the June meeting. If you guys aren't aware, we decided to move the meeting from a bi-weekly to a monthly schedule for many reasons, namely that we don't move that much in a way that's relevant to report and discuss over every 2 weeks, because we just like repeat the same things. And yeah. So in terms of dev sync on my end, I fixed a bunch of tests for HiveMind on the set role command, plus the role permission issue that we have on communities right now. I won't go into details for that, but so the tests are fixed, and I believe the branch is ready to be reviewed. I don't know what the status is on that. I fixed an issue found by the block trades team in RC delegations, namely, the API, not the actual core thing. So that has been fixed and merged. Thank you, Bartek, for your review. Then I spent a lot of time on the beneficiary setting for communities. If you guys don't remember, it's a feature where you can set on a community a beneficiary setting, and if you don't, your post doesn't match those beneficiaries, it's muted by default. The issue with that is that storing the necessary beneficiaries is quite costly for the database. So I'm trying to find what's the most suited variable type. I'm testing between like JSONB, which is a Postgres native type for JSON stored as binary, and just a straight up separate table and doing joins. So that's taking a bunch of time. It's very important to be optimized in that part because, well, almost every post that's going through a community, if there is a beneficiary, is going to like have to do that lookup. So it's gonna take some performance. And yeah, I wanted to do some changes on the SC delegation API as well, but I'm stumbling onto some compilation issues with a pthread. I need to dig into that. It happened when I rebased from develop, so something probably changed in the build system. Yeah, but that's it for me.
Okay. Maybe you should. Did you try a full clean build?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So as far as what we've been working on, we've merged in what I think is the last change to half for this cycle for the hard fork, which was among other things adding witness data to who created the block, and so that work is done, and just I think we're basically waiting for another review before we merge it into develop. And so basically half, I'd say, is pretty much done at this point, this version of it. Same thing for half. We've done a bunch of benchmarking testing on that, and that also seems quite good at this point. So we're going to do a test this week to deploy it on our production system just to see how it performs there, but I don't anticipate any problems. So that's kind of we've also been working on the Block Explorer some, and we've got like a preliminary version completed, which I'm going to be reviewing later today, and I'll probably write up something about it the next day or two, some screenshots and things like that. And so basically that'll allow anyone who's running an API node or just a half server to run their own copy of a Block Explorer. And anybody who's running a half server, it's going to be very lightweight because basically they already have, it doesn't add a lot of new tables beyond what's already there in the base half configuration. Let's see. So I guess the other thing we've been working on half base is HiveMind, and we're still got one issue we're at least looking at right now, hopefully no more. So we're having a problem when it goes into live sync. We had like a lock that basically locked it up when it went into live sync mode. So, but I anticipate we'll fix that in the next couple of days, and hopefully that'll be the last stopper to have HiveMind working fully. Performance-wise, it performed quite well. I think it took about, I maybe posted somewhere, but in my post, maybe it took about 2 days and 5 hours, which is, I think, very good. It's certainly as good as the old HiveMind, and maybe better. I can't recall. Well, more to the point, I don't think we've done a full sync of HiveMind in a while, so I don't really even know how long it takes right now, the old one. So that's pretty much all the half-based stuff, and then I guess we've got to merge in some changes, condenser that Quackway has done recently, but I haven't had a chance to look at that. I'll look at that later today. And then finally, there's Hive D, and we've got a few major, as I mentioned in my post, we've got one major change that we found we need to make. It was to deal with the whole issue of handling transactions that could instead of using strings for the assets, they could use these network asset identifiers, basically these numbers that just correspond to any particular token currency. And it turned out to do that efficiently, we had to make a change that I was planning for later in Hive D, an optimization efficiency change. So we're going to do that now. We've already started this weekend, and I hope we'll have that finished within the week or so, but that's maybe optimistic, we'll see. But anyways, that change is significant enough that I want to allow plenty of testing time for it. And we've also had a couple other changes already in Hive D that I think should require more testing related to block processing. So between those two things, I decided it's best just to shove out the hard fork to the end of July. But like I said in my post, probably the good news is I don't anticipate any further major changes to Hive D. In fact, few, if any at all. We've got to merge in the RC cost changes, but that's it. So I think we're pretty much done with changes that can impact hard fork time, and I'm pretty confident that this will be we'll finally have a date we can actually set for the hard fork, and maybe we can make an official date public in maybe another week or so. Let's see. So that's about it for us right now. And let's, I guess, open it up.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Like Arkanj? I don't think.
I just have one question about Hive. Do we have a finalized setup for Hive?
Well, there's two ways to set up Hive right now, and there's one that's been done for a while, which is you can just run a script that'll set it up for you. And I think that's what Imwatsy's been using, for instance, probably, and that's what I use. We're also creating a new way, which is, it's done, but it's just not well documented and it still has a few rough edges, which is to do it via Docker. So the idea with that approach would be you would have a Docker for your Hive database itself. In other words, you got Postgres running inside of a Docker. You store your database locally on your system, and you have your Hive server Docker bind to that local database. So that you can basically, you have a persistent data store for your Hive server, even if you shut down the Hive server itself. And then you can also, the idea behind this approach is you'd also, you run all your Hive applications as separate Dockers. So you would have a Hive a Docker, you would have maybe a Block Explorer Docker, etc. And this would just give you more localized control of shutting down one server. Basically, you'd have a very, I guess, clean way to shut down any particular service that you wanted to shut down for whatever reason. So, and the docs are being written for that now, and we did some work on it this weekend. I've reviewed them, and I'm going to make some. Bartek's primarily writing the Docker docs right now, so it's one of the problems why it's slow. It's because he keeps getting interrupted to have to deal with other stuff. And I'm basically reading through his edits and then making my own changes. So I guess I hope in the next couple of days, that stuff will have firmed up to where anyone should be able to understand it. Right now, it's probably a little bit on edge. Let's see. But if you just want to do one now, you can run the setup Hive instance script, and that has fairly good documentation. You can just run the -- help and see the options. And if you just want to set up Hive, I've just set up like 4 of them this weekend on various servers here, so it wasn't much work. You basically run the script and let it go.
Can I ask a question about
Sure.
the Hive? The minimum requirement, is it still? Can you run a lightweight Hive?
Oh, absolutely, right? So there's basically, if you run a full weight app, it's probably around 2.7 terabytes of disk space. But there's two things you can do here. Step one is I'm not even running it on regular systems anymore. I run it on ZFS, and on ZFS the database compresses to a single terabyte. So that's a solution.
But
if you don't want to,
you need a terabyte.
No, that's solution A. Yeah, that method you would need a terabyte of SSD. Option 2 is, and this is the much better option if you really want to cut down on your storage, which is use filtering. And for most Hive apps, they're going to just be able to use filtering.
So
you
if
can,
I just want my custom JSONs from PodPig,
yeah, you can have a super small database with that. I remember I did some initial analysis of this, and it may have changed a little bit, but it won't have changed a lot. It was around 5 gigabytes for a minimum size half database, and that's storing all the blocks, the block metadata, stuff like that you can't get away from. Some auxiliary tables. So you could basically run a 5 gigabyte, so very, very small database. If all you want to do is track your own operations.
and yeah, if I limit it to 1 month's worth of data, I throw away anything older, then it can be really, really tight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think, I mean, honestly, I don't, unless your application is truly generating a lot of data, I doubt you'll even need to do that. I suspect you can run just fine with just let your data accumulate.
Okay, good. I want to start playing with that.
Yeah, and the way the filtering works is for your application where you just want to look at your own custom JSON, basically you can specifically say filter for that. And that's all you'll get in there. So the big tables are the operations table and associated tables associated with that. And basically you'd be filtering all that data out mostly because you'd just be ignoring all those operations. And I think it'll also filter out the transactions associated if there's none of your operations in them.
Yeah, we don't have transactions. We've just got custom JSON that I'm interested in.
Well, yeah, but a transaction wraps. So all operations are wrapped inside of a transaction. You can basically, a transaction is like a larger object. You can store one or more operations inside. So right now you're probably generating a single transaction with a single custom JSON operation contained inside of it. But alternatively, you can, if you want the several operations to happen as a group, then you could stick them all in a single transaction, for instance. And it's also more efficient. If you know you have several operations that you want to do, it's also more efficient to put them in a single transaction, because then you only have to sign that single transaction. You don't have to sign each individual operation. So it's more efficient in terms of
we do
CPU
it the other
and
way
storage.
around, because we batch up the URLs of the feeds that we're announcing have changed. So we'll wait 30 seconds, put those on in a batch in one custom JSON. So
right.
And then we won't do another custom JSON for 30 seconds at least. So
gotcha. So the only issue would be if you wanted to do something, you might, if you had something else you also wanted to do at the same time, you could throw that in your transaction. But it sounds like for your needs, you don't need anything else. So that's straightforward. So basically, you use a regex, regular expression to define
on the ID, which IDs we want.
Exactly. And then
Imwatsi has been doing something like this, and he's got something going. But
yes,
I want to get it up and running for my podcasting 2.0 people to start poking at it, because I think
the filtering is very, very easy. I mean, it's like a one-liner in your config file to specify what you want to filter on. So it's trivial to implement the filtering.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So any other? I think any general questions? I think Howard had some questions about maybe Half and HiveMind. I'm not sure what his questions
the rest
were,
is going to be pretty fast, except from Akin's question at the end. I just wanted to know what's the status on my HiveMind and HiveD open merge requests, if there was anything remaining to be done.
I think Bartek was going to review one of your merge requests, but I'll leave it to, and probably merge it in today, but I'll leave up to him to answer that question.
Yes, I will take a look at it. One of your merge requests is related to RC API was merged today. Second one in HiveD repository related to two new virtual operations is under review, and hopefully will be merged also. And last one related to HiveMind changes, I need to review again after fixing my initial remarks. But after first looks, I hope it will be fine and we can get it into develop.
Is that last change a community related change or?
Yes, I suppose this is related to
so
communities APIs.
Just for my interest, how what's the nature of the change for that?
So,
do you remember?
So basically, it's a change that allows you to. Wait, what was the change again? Because I have multiple events. Hold on. basically there was an issue where you can, so anyone can set, oh yeah, that's it. Anyone can set anyone as, anyone can give anyone a role. And so that meant there was a bit of abuse where people would set people as moderators of communities, even though they didn't want to.
Oh yeah, it's been done to me.
Yeah, exactly. And so that change makes it so that you can only set a role or a title if the user is a member already, which should solve this issue.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, which triggers a lot.
Okay, so that's not going to require any. So that's not requiring any database table change or anything like that. It's just a.
Well, yes, because I add a new database function,
But I mean, it's not changing any tables. It's just a query change.
No, it's just a queries that changes.
Okay, good. Okay, that's less intrusive for sure.
Yeah, it can be rolled back if things go bad.
Okay.
So yeah, and the then I have community types 2 and 3, but that's still ongoing. Some testing fixes because that touches a lot of tests.
Yeah, that's a big change. So.
But yeah, the first one should be too hard to fix. Yeah, then well, we don't have that much time, so I'm going to skip this one for the next one. Yeah, I just wanted to know if there was if it was possible for you guys to add some contributing.md or update the README more commonly, because I feel like in WotC and me and maybe some other developers, I kind of struggling to always read the CA scripts. And so if
I feel the same way. In fact, that's my personal experience as well.
Well, yeah,
I did not know how to create a Docker for half until this weekend.
Yeah, so if you guys could, the issue that all of this knowledge is it's like
that's literally all I've been pounding on Bartek for the past couple of days. Poor guy.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well,
I keep asking him for more docs. If you read the, well, I don't know if I'm asking him in chat or if I'm asking him in GitLab, but I've been, yeah, we know it's a problem point, and it's not just a problem point for you guys. It's a problem point for us too. I mean, at any point we have one guy who knows how to run a benchmark, or we have one guy who knows how to make a Docker, but part of the problem is procedures keep evolving because we keep making improvements, and that's part of the problem as well. So it's been kind of pointless to document the benchmarking when we change the benchmarking procedure and so on, et cetera. And even the Docker stuff, it's been evolving as we figure out exactly how we want it to work, because the Docker stuff's more complicated in the scenes because we also got to make it work well with CI. And we've run into problems before where we were running out of space on GitLab because we were creating too many Docker images, for example. That just happened this week. So finding the right methodology is sort of the area where we're still, I think we're close to being resolved on. And once we have that, we can flesh out the docs completely. But even despite that, if you look at the half documentation as of today, we've made some edits dealing with how the Docker stuff works, but it's still a little rough. I need to fix the English some and things like that. So
I'll try and I'm interested specifically in the Docker side because that's what I've been learning for the last year and a half. So I'll try and have a look at the half Docker side and see if I can make sense.
I would say give it one more day.
Yeah. Okay. No, definitely.
Just let me make a few edits, and then I'll let you. We'd love some extra feedback on that. I guess on a related note, one more thing, we do have a mirror net up. We've launched another mirror net, but again, I've wanted me to encourage other people to join, but I was saying, let's wait a little bit longer so we can test a little more isolated environment. So we'll probably want more people joining the mirror nets. I would say maybe mid to the end of this week.
Okay.
When you say to join the mirror net, do you mean adding nodes or?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Okay.
So that would basically be just so it uses the same key. So if you're a witness, you can actually become a producer on the mirror net just by setting up with your key. And so essentially, to run a mirror net, you compile with a different option, and you get a mirror net node that can join and then you need the seed nodes, and that's all you need to hook up.
Okay. Of memories, Gandalf made a post about it.
Yes, he did. Yes. That's right.
Okay, and it's still up to date.
Well, that's a question for Gandalf. Maybe he knows.
So there is a new instance running for like 5 hours now. But yes, the documentation in the post, I mean, not really documentation, but those details are up to date.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think if I got anything else.
Last question is from Archange. I guess I'll let you do your point.
Okay, so I see more and more discussions about increasing the block size. My question is, are we stuck with 64K boundaries, or can we change the size to anything else?
With 64K, but I don't honestly see a good reason to change it right now. First of all, as far as we rarely are hitting up against the 64K barrier at this point. Most of the blocks are about half full, I think, last time I checked. So I don't know there's any pressing need to update it yet. There are some, we certainly can do it, and I don't believe there's any technical problem with, say, doubling the size, for instance. That I don't believe that would cause much issue. I would certainly rather delay anything like that till after the hard fork at the very least, because we're making a lot of changes that'll improve the efficiency of processing. So while I don't really anticipate a doubling to cause a problem, I certainly want to. I haven't really tested the old code against that kind of performance, because that, when we had to make blocks that size. We have certainly tested the new code, and the new code handles it without a problem. In fact, we were making some quite large blocks with the new code on a mirror net, because the mirror net wasn't configured with the 64K block size. It had a huge block size. So but again, that was on it definitely adds more load to make the blocks bigger. And we could certainly get to a size where it'd be a problem, I think, with the old code. So definitely we should wait till after the hard fork before we make such a change.
Yeah. But we don't need to double the blocks. We can go with intermediary size.
Yeah, we can. Sure, we can make it whatever. There's not a fixed size.
Just add 32Ks, for example.
Right, and I think your other question about it was whether if it added much. It doesn't add any extra. There's not extra overhead associated with increasing the size.
Okay.
So there's a fixed overhead, and then increasing the size above that just increases the size.
Okay, so the block size is just an upper limit to the amount of bytes that can be written to the blockchain.
That's right. That's exactly right. So it does basically, it sets a limit of how fast the blockchain can grow. And that's a good thing, right? So it's certainly not something I want to press to increase unless there's a clear need right now. And I mean, I certainly think with the growth, I'm expecting we will in fact have to push up the block size a bit, but I don't think we're there for at least several months.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
Okay, awesome. Well, I don't have any other points for this meeting. Do you guys have anything else?
I don't.
I just wanted to drop in just a very quick thing that my Hive for Lightning bridge is working. I'm pleased with its sort of having slow organic growth, but it's anybody who wants to talk to me about like what you can do with it in terms of front ends, sort of, because it does act as a nice bridge to a part of the internet that's getting a lot of attention and a lot of, I don't know how many people are really using it, because it's a lot of Bitcoin bros swapping sats with each other at the moment, but the on-ramps look like they're coming that way for small sums, so to take $2-3 worth in is actually economic for the first time. It actually works.
I had a quick question about this, since you're I think for Hive, you're probably the expert at this point on this Lightning stuff. Do any of the exchanges support Lightning interfaces? Do you know which ones do? So
Kraken are the biggest. They allow Lightning withdrawals and deposits. And the last I saw, they said in a tweet that they'd done about something like between 3,000 and 5,000 transactions in a month and a half, which shocked me because it was so tiny.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me, but it is quite tiny.
I'm doing like 10 to 15 a day sometimes.
Yeah, so you're not too far from Kraken's business.
Yeah, and I'm undercapitalized by comparison. Yeah. So, but the point is that getting
So how are the
Bitcoin
fees on
in and out.
Lightning? How are the fees look on Lightning? That's another thing I don't really know anything about.
I generally, this is such a complicated question. The fees are anything from 0.5% would be a lot, down to nothing. So what I tend to do is now I don't try and do this routing thing. So if somebody sends to me, I then, if I want to put Lightning in a wallet of Satoshi, which is a big, custodial wallet, I have a direct channel to them. So I pay no fees backwards and forwards with wallet of Satoshi. So I can move, if I send 100,000 sats, 100,000 sats gets in the wallet, 0 fee. But the cost of that was that I had to do an on-chain Bitcoin transaction to open the channel. So, but the fees thing, it's very low fee. It's not like Hive, but it's pretty damn low. That's why what I'm doing is economic, because
Okay, so
I'm not
it's
losing
normally
fees.
lower than a Bitcoin transaction, right?
Oh, it's way lower if you do
Okay.
things right. It's way less.
Okay.
What happened? In essence, what you do is you establish a channel with somebody else, and then it's like a beads on an abacus. You shuffle them backwards and forwards. Managing these channels is a complete headache and a nightmare. And the Bitcoin bros who think the whole world's all going to have their own Bitcoin Lightning node, that's just nonsense, because running one is a nightmare. But that's the nightmare I've taken on, and I'm doing it. And if you do it at sort of moderate scale, it works.
Okay.
And I just have to keep managing liquidity in the right places. But for the small sums I'm allowing, $30, $40 a time, it works.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
That's the sweet spot. Yeah, if you want to do $200 and up, you've got to do a main chain transaction. It's
Gotcha.
silly. But and the other thing it does work for, which is what the podcasting 2.0 side does, is you can send 25 sats every minute to a show on 3Speak, and that's actually works, and you do not lose it all in fees.
Nice. Okay.
Okay.
That's
So
cool. Okay,
I'm just
thanks.
around. Find me if you want more.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody else have any questions or issues to raise today?
All right, sounds like a wrap then. Thank you all for coming, and see you next month or on chain.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye. See you.
See you all.
Bye all.
Thank you.